you're facing, sort of split in a way. And obviously I want to be very careful here because obviously there's some matters that are in court. But what is the future of the party?
The future of the party remains Patriotic Front. There is an attempt. The
name obviously remains. But I'm sure you can see what's going on, yeah.
No, we recognize that we are under severe attack. That is an attempt to steal, kill, and destroy the Patriotic Front by imposing a stooge, by imposing someone we expelled, by attempting to legitimize someone who has no authority or legitimacy of our party. We recognize we are under severe attack. We are relying on institutions such as a registrar, such as parliament, and such as the judiciary, who have so far let us down, attributable again to President Hakainde Hichilema, who is attempting to steal this party away from the legitimate owners. The future of the party, I think, is not a matter for Emmanuel Mwamba or Edgar Lungu or Lubinda. It's a matter...
There's a reason I say what's the future of the party, because you have, what was it, 7, 8, 9 MPs, that may or may not be expelled, depending on, again, what you read. That obviously has an impact in terms of governance, because obviously these are lawmakers who sit in parliament. So, and that's why I say, what is the future of the party? When you look at, everything that's going on, whether it's a fight on this end in terms of party president, when you look at the fight between members of parliament and whether or not they may or may not be expelled, what is the future from a governance perspective?
For me, I think the analysis has to be correct. It's the future of our country at stake, because it's democracy under attack. You may not like the PF, but you'd want it to exist. That's what multi-party democracy. Yeah, that's what multi-party democracy. That's what our people chose and decided in 1991. They didn't want a one-party state. They needed a ruling party respected, but a ruling party that respects the opposition. And this is that's a principle, the multi-party state of our country, which is under attack. Democracy is under attack. Institutions and organs of the state that are supposed to be independent and autonomous are being defiled, like we saw, where parliament can change the leadership of the opposition in parliament without recourse both to the constitution or to the provisions under registrar. We saw the registrar hounded out of the office because she just simply asked legitimate question. You are saying Mao Sampazeo the conference and you want me to change this. But the party says the people who call this conference is a central committee. Mao Sampa is not the central committee. The attendance requires that you have mayors, council chairperson, MPs, provincial and district officials. They are not here among the delegates list. The requirement is that they are already standing, presidential candidates in Shimba Kambwiri, Brian Munduvile, Emmanuel Mwamba, Mtoto Kafwaya, Dr. Chitalu Chulfe. There are Honorable Greyford Monde. There are 8 other candidates who are waiting to go to elections. How do you purport that this man has held a press conference? Has held an extraordinary general conference. She asked those questions and she was fired.
Does the solution then purely lie in institutions of governance?
Yeah.
The courts, for example. That's where the solution to where you face as a party.
So the analysis, I think let's take it from independent people. The Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, in their pastoral letter that was released end of October, put it very clearly that democracy is under threat. They saw that this fight on the PF was state-orchestrated and state-sponsored. The state house have no business in the issues of Patriotic Front. Just like we have no business in the UPND government. The abuse of institutions like what occurred at Parliament. So this is not a fight about the PF. This is a fight for our democracy in our country. These views were echoed by the Law Association of Zambia, by the Christian Council of Churches in Zambia, and by the Evangelical Fellowship in Zambia. Other stakeholders have commented about this, that there is democracy under attack. The recent reference by OSIDA, they've even gone to the judiciary. They've put the Chief Justice on the line. They've said, you, Chief Justice, in your inauguration in December, and when you addressed the judicature and support staff, you promised an independent judiciary. You promised integrity. You promised you stop interference of the judiciary. What we've seen recently, an injunction should be given within 7 days. It's 3 months the PF can't get an injunction. The matters are thrown to the PF, to the judiciary for example, to criminally try this young man who's purporting to be president of the PF. He has forged our letters, he has forged our documents. He writes purporting that he is PF president. So we took a criminal matter to the judiciary. We saw the DPP without declaring that this gentleman is his personal friend. He didn't declare that this was his client, he was a lawyer, and proceeds to discontinue a credible case. You can see coordinated efforts, to literally liquidate the Patriotic Front. But like I said, it's not a fight against a PF, it's a fight against democracy.
Do you see, and again, it's not all doom and gloom, is it? There are offshoots of positivity. You might look at the suspension of one particular judge as a good thing, right? In terms of where we want to go. I mean, the statement that came out from Osida, by the way, referenced that particular judge. Yeah. So I'm assuming this is a good thing, correct?
First of all, we've expressed concern. It's all institutions that are under attack. You must have noticed. The judicial service.
Like you don't want to be optimistic here.
I will be.
My question is simple here. The statement that came out from Osida named a particular judge.
Yeah.
That particular judge was suspended in the past couple of days. So is that a good thing?
If you are suspended for misconduct, for wrongdoing, we welcome that. But this is a judge who is about to hear a matter, subpoenaed the registrar. The registrar has provided office bearers, and there is a hearing scheduled. It's a good light, where justice may be delivered. And the judge is ordered to discontinue those matters and told to go to the Judicial Complaints Commission. They revive an old matter that has been outstanding for the last 3 years. All of a sudden it has life, and the judge is facing these criminal sanctions. So it's not that...
You see a conspiracy in everything, don't you?
No. We do not.
Because when I saw it, I thought, okay, this is exactly what Osida was talking about. So
I would ask, why was that complaint lying idle for 2 years? Mm-hmm. Why, when the judge ordered the Registrar of Societies to give the status of the office bearers for the Patriotic Front from 2015 to date, and that document was released, why is that judge, all of a sudden there's a revival of old sanctions? So it's not that we want to read into conspiracies. If institutions are working independently, no one will ask the motive. No one will see political interference. We will not question the Judicial Complaints Commission chairperson, my dear elder brother Vincent Mwamba. We will not ask him. We will think that he's acting carefully. But so far, that institution has proven to be a tool and a whip to put the judiciary in order. In fact, they've lost the sense of state of security, of tenure. They've lost their independence. They know that they can be arraigned before that body anytime. And they can be within 2 weeks, the president can accede to a letter from the Judicial Complaints Commission, and such a person will be fired. So, suspended. He's been suspended. What's waiting for is a dismissal. If we are to believe Honorable Vincent Mwamba and his team, we have taken a complaint. We have said your DPP here is amenable to you. He has misconducted himself. He didn't declare when entering to discontinue that matter in court that he's a personal friend to Mr. Mao Sampa, that he was a lawyer for Mr. Mao Sampa. We think that the judiciary and the magistrate needed, or he should have recused himself. Let's see if that JCC is independent. Then we'll remove the theory of conspiracies.
So there was a lot of talk last year about shrinking democratic space. I've always argued this to say shrinking in one sense.
Oh, yeah. In all sense.
No. Let me rephrase that. Shrinking in which period?
Yeah.
Shrinking from bad to worse, or from worse to bad? Like what?
Where we?
Yeah.
Where we?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the UPND
Is this a nice little phrase that we've coined, shrinking democratic space? What does that actually mean?
So the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema.
Sorry, and how do we, in this year, in these next 12 months, how do we see it unshrinking? Yeah.
So in this last 2.5 years, the UPND can't believe that they can be deemed worse than the PF. That's their trouble. It's a psychological issue. Because they think they are better. They came on a platform to, enhance democracy, rights and freedoms, and to broaden the democratic space. So they cannot believe that stakeholders are accusing them of being worse than the PF. Yes, under the PF you could have seen cadres, hacking each other at Intercity, and you saw very bad. The danger of the democratic governance of President Hakainde Hichilema is detrimental to our country. It will last beyond his term, because he has gone to systematically attack institutions of democracy. While under the PF, cadres could have attacked people. Here it's a police that are beating us, that have removed our tooth. My tooth is removed. You've seen I don't have a tooth. They haven't replaced it yet. It's a police, a state institution that is torturing, treating us with inhumanity. If you saw cadres disrupting a political process, here it's a police that are being unleashed on us. If you saw cadres maybe trying to protest at parliament, here it's a speaker abusing the constitution. That is where...
Sorry, you oversimplified it, haven't you, in a way?
Not necessarily. Let me discuss what shrinking democratic space.
The reason I say you oversimplified it is because people will argue and they'll say, look, what's worse is where we came from. And this is where the argument around what is shrinking democratic space is to say, if you had a cadre going into a police station to beat up a police person, what is that? Doesn't that then instill fear in the people that we are supposed to look to protect and serve?
Yeah. So, for example, there was independence in the judiciary. There was no justice looking over them and fearing a dismissal. Now a judge can be dismissed. That's where the danger is for our democratic space. We cannot have rallies. We've never had rallies since 2021. That is unheard of. Even under the worst condition of the Patriotic Front, President Hakainde Hichilema came to radio stations. You interviewed him. He held rallies. You saw the rallies. The mass rallies that you saw the pictures is because government allowed him to. Whether there were elections due or not, President Hakainde Hichilema held public meetings and public rallies. Whether there was sometimes interference, maybe by cadres fighting, but the principle is he was allowed to hold those meetings. The other day, my young brother, Tabo Kawana, has issued threats to the media. He says, we said we will not close stations, but we said we will never. We didn't use the word never. He says we underline that. So the closure of radio stations is coming. That is worse than a cadre coming to storm here. Because under the hand of the PS and IBA, your license can be taken away. So while they condemned that under PF, they intend and they are practicing it. Where is the democratic space is if the president is in charge of lawlessness, is the one issuing threats to citizens. Imingalato, nkamikama mikoshi, ulebwele who will allow you. When the president speaks like that, it's a president issuing threats to the people. And that's where this democratic space, media space, and other rights-based spaces have shrunk. Civil society, in the first year, we are accusing them of maybe they want jobs. This is 2.5 years, they're still very quiet. But we recognize the atmosphere that is prevailing. You cannot hold rallies, protests, demonstrations, or any form of procession. That is a core to the fundamental freedom of expression.
So then what would equal, would you then say that, look, for us to get to a level where we don't have to use the phrase shrinking democratic spaces to allow people to hold rallies? Is that something that...
No, freedoms, rights and freedom must be expressed.
Freedom, depending on who you ask, rights and freedom still exist.
No, they do not. There is a sense of fear across the country. You have seen even, first I tell you that we've removed criminal defamation of the president. But they continue to arrest who they deem insults the president. Under another law, the one we call Cyber Crimes and Cybersecurity Act.
That's the law, isn't it? You break the law, unfortunately.
No, all I'm saying is,
no, but you know
all I'm saying is.
But you know what I mean, because now you can't have a country where people break a law and no one is followed purely because.
That's why the realm, that's why we've dropped criminal defamation of the president.
Yeah, but that's why laws exist.
No. That's why the principle of dropping that law was not to shift the arrest of citizens using another law. The principle was that a president is a leader, he can't be insulted. That's what we said in Bemba.
Break the law. Because unfortunately for you, this is a law that you all enacted. That's one. Number two, it's my belief that if I go on social media and I bully you, surely I'm liable on that law. It doesn't matter who you are. Right?
No, the only ones that are being arrested, for example, are PF or opposition members. The Secretary General Batuke Imenda called the Archbishop, foremost leader of the Catholic Church in Zambia, called him a Lucifer. To date, he hasn't even been called for criminal defamation to the police. There's even no call out for him. And you see that repeated again and again, that the law is being used. The law enforcement agencies have been weaponized against the opposition. The same act done by a member of the opposition, he will feel the heaviest weight of the law, even just on mere suspicions. But a member of the ruling party, we will not, And the issue of democratic space for me is very fundamental. If people can't express themselves, they are fearful to express themselves. They are fearful to write. I wrote, on 4th November when I just came from UK, and that was when the heightened attacks against the PF was working. I wrote a line. I said, the PF must know that they will not get justice through the registrar, through parliament, and through the judiciary until they exert public pressure by conducting mass rallies or mass protests. I was caught. They said I was subversive. When did calling for protests become criminal in this country? Can't I protest? Can't I demonstrate? It's part of my fundamental right to express myself. I didn't say ignore the law. I didn't say don't apply, don't ignore the Public Order Act. No, it doesn't mean that. Even the Public Order Act, even as bad as it is, does provide for everything I asked for.
So then how do we attain those kinds of maybe leniency in a way, I guess?
No, the law must be applied. Yeah. Don't misunderstand me. The law must be applied, but must be applied equally and fairly. I'll tell you, the dismissal of my young brother, Stanley Kakubo, and I think he was a good upcoming leader, I must say, because I met him in my earlier career, in his earlier career as Minister of Foreign Affairs. Don't tell me that the president was not aware of that transaction. The president only acted because the matter came to social media attention. That deal is 1 year old. If the president was not aware, then his intelligence is not working. Because the documents signed, there were records, money's exchanged hands. So I'm putting that as a simple example. Yeah. When does a scandal become a scandal? When it hits social media or when you become aware of it?
Now, here's the thing. We have to rewind a bit.
Yeah.
I think we have to rewind a bit in terms of that issue. Because it didn't hit social media before it hit mainstream media.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I want to give credit to the news leaders.
Yeah.
Because they got, on this one, they got the score right. And according to them, sources said that there was a meeting. He was called to committee or with status, whichever one it is. Then the following day, everything else happened. So on that front, maybe again, we can give people the benefit of the doubt to say maybe they had a conversation to say, okay, what happened? Maybe, I cannot swear, there's so many maybes I'm throwing in. Maybe the leader said, you know what, maybe instead of me firing you, resign.
So let's start with the first one.
I can give you the two.
On a holiday, he is found at his premises for Sinoma. Holiday. and he's seen with the packet. And whoever took those pictures was one of the best whistleblowers of the year. And there is an ambassador, a colleague from China on the side. All parameters tell you this is not an innocent meeting. It's a holiday. It's at a private premises for Sinoma Cement. The young man, this is April, is walking out with a parcel which he later says is a diary. And an explanation is given to the president, and the president accepts that. First of all, everything is wrong there. Number one, wrongdoers should not go to the president. They should go to the SEC. They should go to the DEC. That's what happens to us. No one calls us. President Lungu doesn't call me that you're not what could he find. It's DEC that will call you. So the president is protecting people, is allowing lawlessness to exist. And like I say, he must have been aware. Because if you look at the letters, this matter began to bubble up, I think, last month when the Chinese went and began to demand that the second sale of what he perceived was his mind should not go to the other.
But from a governance perspective, look, we can argue and say, look, when, timing, all of those things. But isn't the principle is right? The principle of we think you've done something wrong. Again, we don't fully know this, but we think you've done something wrong. We as a public don't know. But we think you've done something wrong, and you resign.
Okay, so again,
again, ACC have decided, you know what,
the same process occurred with the Minister of Health. A businessman from South Africa issued letters to the media, wrote to the president and to ACC and said the minister is corrupt over this procurement of this $100 million infectious diseases hospitals. She has asked for this and the luxury car. The contractor put it in writing, swore an affidavit, put it to the police, put it to the president. You see the president praising the minister. Instead, what does that mean? You see the minister is not subjected to law enforcement agencies. You see favoritism. The same issues occur with Chilundika from Luapula. He's immediately fired. Even that dismissal, we condemned it. Because audios that became public, everyone knew they had become public a year or months before. So at the time he was being fired, was he being fired for wrongdoing or for knowing too much or implicating others? We'll never know. What Stanley Kakubu has gone through is not different from what the Minister of Health went through. But you see praises. In fact, both Kakubu and the Minister of Health received praises at the press conference, the last press conference. The president, and unfortunately, the president was extremely tribal at that press conference. Kept on referring, so if you don't like Kakubu as a name. But the point is, let's not lose the sense, is that the law must be applied fairly. There should be no favoritism in the application of the law. And the authority and powers vested in the president must be with responsibilities. There should be no immunities. I've always held. I'm one of the radical people that think.
Where I'm going with
yeah, I've always said that, in fact, the only reason you need immunity is because you think you do wrong things. In fact, in most favorable jurisdiction, we shouldn't have immunities. Maybe that in itself would be restraint for people not to do wrongdoing. So the state of the country, Luchi, is very bad as we start the year. First, we have an economic crisis, one of the biggest meltdown of our economy in the last 30 years. We have what the IMF have predicted and the Economic Intelligence Unit have predicted might lead to civil unrest because of the state of our economy, because of the high cost of living, because of legacy issues such as poverty, unemployment, disease burden. You have a collapsed health system. And the president was saying that we have delivery of medicine up to 93%. Come on, we want to Wakwalesa. Every caller here tells you there are no medicines. Where is the 93% coming from? Where? Essential kits have run out across the country. These are matters we can verify and interrogate with our people. Even when the president is being lied to, we shouldn't participate in that lie. We should go to the clinic ourselves, especially the media, especially civic leaders and political leaders, and go and do inquiries ourselves.
Is that where the benefit of laws like ATI come in? and that, again, this year.
The Access to Information Act, at the eve of its passing, many people were surprised that I condemned it, because it's supposed to be, we're supposed to celebrate the passing of that law. It's been long-standing, especially for us media people, from 2002. Law is very bad. It's empty. It has too many discretions to information bearers. I wondered why they've taken it to the Human Rights Commission to administer. I think that they don't have capacity. To the exemptions that have been removed that you can't ask, that citizen can't ask. Then the appeal process where you have to go to court. Again, who can afford? For journalists, we deal with timely information. I want it now, because the matter is current. You can't a process that may take 2 to 5 years. So, is it a start? No, it's not a good start. Many people are saying, congratulations. Well, President Hakainde Hichilema will tick the box, like he did tick the box on death penalty. A lot of issues there. On criminal defamation of the president, he will tick the box. ATI, he will tick the box.
Don't you think the real test for ATI, for example, is the first person who uses it? That's the real test. To say, I tried to access this piece of information.
Let's try.
Yes.
Today I published on my, they passed the budget, and there is $21 million allocated to State House. I want to know, what is that for? This man is calling for us to tighten our belt. So they've allocated these huge funds, including advisory funds. So we need to begin to test the law. Because,
That's the only way you'll know whether the law actually
but I know,
by testing.
But I know that the information, the act itself, gives wide discretion to information holders. They can choose to give it to you or not. And besides, anyway, there are many things that have to be done. The regulations have to come out. Forms have to be designed of how citizens can ask for that information. We are far away from just doing it. Let me give you an example. We passed in 2016 dual citizenship, and our members of the diaspora community still can't get dual citizenship because no one knows how it is supposed to be done. So 7-8 years later, celebrating that the Dual Citizenship Act was passed, the mechanisms of how to do it, the citizen board that is supposed to sit and the requirements, our people are still finding it difficult. Similarly, this is what I'll see with this law.
Can I ask you one last question? Are you going to be a bit more optimistic this year?
The picture is gloom. The picture is gloom from the Democratic Front. Yeah, yeah. Like KK would say, sometimes you would see a light at the end of the tunnel. KK would accept we are in trouble. We are very bad, but he would say, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. No, unfortunately, Luchi, what I see is more gloom because President Hakainde Hichilema.
Are you going to offer more solutions this year?
That's all we do. Yeah. For me, for every criticism we provide, that's in the agricultural sector, mining sector.
Are you hopeful that that positive solutions will be paid a bit more attention to by those?
No, they rebuff it. Let me give you an example. Members of the opposition came together, I think in September, hammered out for 2 weeks what they thought was a good letter. And they took it to the president. Mr. President, they wrote an open letter. We want to provide solutions. We think that the path you've taken is very bad. Your reliance on IMF and foreign investment will not resolve the crisis that we have. And IMF, Economic Intelligence Unit, and other credible organs are saying we are sitting literally on a potential civil unrest for our country. And this is a discontent you see across the country. And they're saying, can we, as political leaders, be the solution to the crisis that we have collectively? And one of the solutions is that they wanted to meet him, and they wanted an economic endeavor for all sectors, all persons represented, to come and air their views and propose solutions. If you are like I have all the wisdom, it doesn't work. What was the response? The Minister of Information was new, I think it was a week old when that letter was issued, and he laughed at the letter. He just dismissed it. At least my brother Clayson Amasaka said we welcome the letter. But government chief spokesperson says no. We are on course. Our program is working. Debt reschedule is working. Our path with IMF is working. And foreign investment is coming. We are reviving the mines. They have this arrogance despite the problem.
So you say arrogance. I said to you when we started, I said one of the things I would like to see this year is political decency.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me throw you a decent thing. It surprises me, and I think it will surprise others when they hear a couple of members of parliament, political leaders, write letters to say we think the path you're taking with IMF is wrong. We think we need an economic endeavor. Is the right thing to do. Now, I want to say to you, IMF is something that PF tried to do. Economic endeavors is something that PF did many, many times. None of these changed this country.
Luch, if they have a better solution, they should come to the table. The issue is not to remove yourself from the table, negotiations and talking. Remember, the analysis is that we are on a hotbed. We can have civil unrest in this. Any small thing can spark it. So we ought to be more responsible. We ought to be more sensitive. We have to remove arrogance from this. The IMF has not been my preferred solutions. Many leaders and our economists in this country believe in it. I don't. I think that is a way we can raise domestic revenue without the need for the IMF. But, the so-called economists think that IMF is a panacea, World Bank is a panacea, and they believe in them so much. Some of us have totally different views of how we still can achieve our development through different mechanisms. You're calling for decent politics. The Zambia Catholic, the Conference of Catholic Bishops, have called on President Hakainde Hichilema to close his rogue blogs. It's now an open secret, Koswe is run from State House. They've asked the president, not the people that administer and run it. That's the beginning of decent conversation. You cannot criminalize everything else as hate speech while you are perpetrating it. I was listening to the president yesterday in Choma, and his references again to the past and how people were hacked with pangas. I think that debate should be behind us. The president must now begin to provide solutions, speak to citizens. If it's going to be tough, he needs to tell us it's going to be tough. You can't engage in blaming the PF every time. That record is not only tired, it's broken. No one is listening to it. You've been 2.5 years in charge. You can't marry a woman, 2 years later you're still blaming the ex. Who will believe you? She'll say, let me go back to the ex. Because maybe the ex has solutions which you are failing to do. This government, every time they open their mouth, they want to blame the PF. If they mishandle the fertilizer, they will say the beneficiaries are PF. They're the ones sharing. If they mishandle the mining sector, they say the PF. Of course, there's a history, there's a legacy. But when they are commissioning, for example, ZNS millers, they will not attribute it to the PF. When they are commissioning very good things, that for the first time now we have power in Lundazi and Chama, they won't tell you that the project was almost at 80% complete under the PF. They will thump their chest. We have taken power to Chama and Lundazi. So there is currently no decency in politics, and I think we need to go to a place where we love our country more than we love ourselves, where we have leaders that love commitment to service than money, where we have leaders that will not be as arrogant as we have seen recent leaders, where they will recognize that they are mere servants and the masters are our people. But we lose it. We think we are the masters. We think we are in charge because we are sitting in that big office. I can command for your arrest, therefore I'm powerful. We abuse powers. We don't use powers for good, for service of mankind and for development. For me, that has been my worry. And as we start a new year, personally, I commit myself to more cleaner politics. Our colleagues don't like the truth. When we tell them the truth, they say it's propaganda. Let's have decent conversation. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it is right, then we'll support you. I've been misunderstood greatly when I, for example, criticize CDF. People want us to celebrate CDF. But I always say, what was the purpose of decentralization? Why did we make mayors and council chairperson electable? First, universal suffrage, where everyone has to elect a mayor and council chairperson. Why do we send equalization fund? Why do we want a professional staff at the council, paid and run properly? Then you focus your time and resources to CDF, a small component in the decentralization policy. No, we envisaged a local government, a government at local level, that will deliver service and development for our people, not CDF. CDF is an initiative for the MP, to conduct these small things. But then we rob resources from the council that we have spent years capacitating, that is provided for in the Constitution. And we take it to CDF, which is, by the way, not even accountable, because you're going to see more. You throw 30 million to a ward committee. I don't even know what they'll do with that money. But if you give it to the council has elected officials and as professionals that will respond to financial regulations of our country, that has engineers and planners that will plan for your district properly. So until we understand what decentralization is, we will be celebrating things that leave zero results even at the end of so much resources.
It's a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
Ambassador Mwamba, thank you very much for being our last guest.
Thank you, Lucia, and I'm privileged to be the first guest in the year.
Well, actually, first physical, yes. But not the first.
Thank you.
I want to thank our three guests there this morning on a very different